Hi, Deb. Have you
I
got?
think I have the slides. Yeah, I'm going to pull them up.
Excellent.
Just got to go to 1 second and I'll do share screen.
So it's just been my pleasure to work with Grant and Stephen and how quickly they were able to put their passion into their writing. When I looked at these board authorized courses, although we think of football, all I saw was an opportunity for the core competencies. And what I really appreciated about in our conversations, it was always about growing community members to give back. And I think if anyone knows, and I don't know Stephen and Grant personally, but I certainly know of their reputation of givers and as teacher leaders. So I'm really excited for them to present. And I was very impressed with the detail and how they're trying to grow human beings who are going to stay in the North and support the North. So thank you.
Awesome. We definitely didn't rehearse this at all, so we'll see how the back and forth goes. But I was just going to start off. We were just going to do a little intro on who we are before, so you know who we are, and then that'll help Monica out too. And then just kind of our motivation for putting this together. So as far as my coaching background, I've been at this since 1994, coaching community football in Quesnel. My playing career ended sooner because there weren't any teams in town, and they said, would you like to help? And since then I've still been helping all the way through. So I got thrown into, head coaching a bantam team, 15 and 16-year-olds with my first experience there, and then kind of moved on since then doing all levels of community stuff. We tried before the Kodiaks were coming, we were trying a junior thing in town too. So, I mean, I've helped coach athletes from like age 7 to 23 over this amount of time. And just as far as high school goes, when we made the decision to move up here and me to go back to school, I started at then Kelly Road because I live up in the heart. And then I got a continuing at Dutchess, so I coached there for a couple of years, and then an opportunity came up to come back to Shasty. So now I'm back coaching up here again. So been at it quite a while now too, and seen lots of a lot of kids come through, and it's crazy now seeing them all with their kids are starting to play and being able to coach them now too. Grant, how about you? Do you want to turn?
Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so my name's Grant Erickson. I've been in the district since I actually started here in 1994, which is, it's kind of funny. Like when I look at the seniority list, I'm now almost at the top of page 2. And it's just like a mind-blowing experience for me, because I can still remember when I was like on the first page. And anyway, 27 years later, here I am. Just with coaching background, I started in the community like Steve, and eventually we just, it was Matt Pierce and myself that decided to have an exhibition game back in 2004. And it was kind of a no-brainer then. We could barely get 30 kids in the whole town of Prince George to field a midget team. And then on the very first year of high school, we had over 40 players on each team for just an exhibition game. So it was kind of a no-brainer. And then it just kind of took off from there. So yeah, and it was actually myself and Matt that wrote the Football 11. I think that was in 2008. And I've had the chance to run the class I think I've ran it about 6 times over the years. And yeah, it's just something that I've been wanting to do for a while. Talking to Tommy Heinzelman, who's a teacher at our school, is also a football coach and knows kind of the lay of the land as well. So we've been talking about it and kicking it around, and I figured it's probably a good time now to introduce football 10 and football 12. Just as the main thing is that we are able to run the class every year. It's very difficult to get into any kind of a rhythm when you only have grade 11 class as a one-off, because kids only get credit for it once. They can take it more than once, right? But they only get credit for it once. So if you have a grade 10, right, that's really keen on it, they sign up, they can take the grade 11 course, but then that's it for them. If they want to take it again, they can, but they can only get credit once. So yeah, so here we are.
So I forgot the mute there. So as far as the why, Grant already touched on the why to develop these. We really wanted to get the progression going. I wanted to start off a little bit just with the overall of the game, and I think it's why both of us like it. So with football, and I got to see that, I think, a lot more in my time at Dutchess, but being back here too, just the inclusion and connection for kids. We, as a sport, it definitely, we draw in more fringe kids sometimes and different body types. You can see from the picture that's going to be in our yearbook up here, those are grade 8s and 9s. There's a huge range of sizes and athletic and intellectual abilities represented in those couple of kiddos. And that's what I always liked about this game, is there was a lot more people that can be involved in it. So we just really wanted to be able to see some of those kids get some credit for putting in extra work, and yeah, just be able to pick up those extra credits. And also just the opportunity part, especially at the tail end. If you haven't been following the news, I mean, we're going to be having a CGFL team coming to Prince George next year. So I mean, the football equivalent of the Prince George Cougars, which is really cool. So kids are going to have those opportunities at the next level. So we really wanted to, especially with the 12, and Grant's going to talk more about that, just open students' eyes to the opportunities that go beyond high school, and introduce them just to year-long training. Oh, we jumped ahead. We can stay on that other slide just for a sec. And I just wanted to bring up one quick quote, because I think it sums up part of our motivation for just seeing this progression. And this is a quote from 2013. So Brandon Deschamps was a kid that played for us here at then Kelly Road. And he went on and just played for UBC and won a Vanier Cup and was a team captain. Like, he's an amazing kid, but I think this quote really summed up part of our motivation. So Brandon's the type of player that never takes anything for granted, said UBC head coach Sean Olson. Coming from a non-traditional football community in northern BC, Brandon has had to work twice as hard to prove he belongs. He quietly goes about his business day in and day out, doing the little things that are necessary to be successful. In doing so, he has established himself as a role model and leader for the rest of our team. So we really want to have that progression so that we can have more Brandons come through and have those kids that are able to succeed at the next level, and really focus on the role model and leadership part, but also the part where he had to work so hard too. We're doing the best that we can, but if we can provide some more opportunities, broadening kids out to seeing where they could play, where they could take the sport, making sure their academics are in line so they could potentially play youth sports too. That's tough to do sometimes just in season. So having this, having courses running year round, I think we'll see more kids able to succeed at that level and also give back. So I think we're ready for the next slide. So I'm going to start off with the 10, and then Grant's going to take the 12. Again, Grant did a great job along with Matt developing 11. We just wanted to, and along with Monica's help, make sure that there was a progression. And this has become a lot more apparent just because the sport locally has changed. For our grade 8s and 9s, they're playing 6 or 9 aside right now. So we want to, if they want to play and be successful, it's nice to introduce them to some of the things that they're going to see in 11 and 12-man football. So it would be nice to be able to do some of that in the classroom setting, and also just start to introduce them, moving more from the fun we're taking part stage to starting to see the competitive end of the sport and what's going to be involved. So the grade 10 is really just a foundation to start students on looking at those things, where we can, from the big ideas, we can see that we're just focusing a bit more on those individual skills that maybe don't happen as much when we're just happy getting kids out. Also, as they start to learn more about comparing American and Canadian football, because we're in a really unique position in BC, where high school is American, but yet kids will be competing in other places if they go to youth sports or junior in Canadian football. So just understanding what both of those sports actually look like and understanding the differences in rules and everything. And also just introducing a lot of the stuff that Grant and I both have learned throughout the years through, NCCP coaching courses and stuff around just athletic development, nutrition, training. So just getting kids introduced to what that looks like. And it really helps them in the off season so that they're better able to contribute and just become more competitive. So a lot like the other board authorized courses that are already there, with whether it's basketball, volleyball, soccer, just starting off that, taking kids that are already playing or really interested in playing and want to start, and starting to move them towards being able to play at that competitive level. So that was the hope for the 10, and maybe draw in the odd grade 9, but mostly grade 10s, just so that they're introduced to what it's going to look like moving forward. And then the 12, it really flips over to more leadership. And then Grant was going to talk more about that stuff.
Yeah, okay. So if you can imagine a kid that takes it in grade 10 is more about of an introduction type of level, where they're being introduced to, weightlifting is a big thing in football, becoming bigger, stronger, and faster. So really training them the proper way in the beginning. And then in grade 11, they're focused on sort of like an individual performance, where they do a lot of getting ready for testing. So there's a battery of tests that they'll have to do, like 40-yard sprint timed, and bench press and stuff like that. It's just kind of a battery of tests that most football programs use just to gauge where the athlete is. So in grade 11, they're kind of working on that. And then after 2 years of having a football class, if they are still really into it and want to move on, then we start to look at continuing their training, but also really taking their learning and their development to the next step, which is actually being able to give back to younger kids. Could be in the class, or the last time I had a football class in 2019, we were looking at doing a elementary flag league for our feeder schools. And the class was actually going to be, the class project was they were going to organize and run the whole flag league, which I thought was be a great project for a class to be able to do that, because then they have to start to understand that it's bigger than just themselves, right? And giving back is such an important aspect to their development, not just as athletes, but as human beings and members of our community. We want them to be solid, upstanding citizens, right? And learning that leadership part, and having a tangible learning opportunity where they can actually see what they've done and look at it from that perspective, I think is really important. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, no, that's fine. You can go on to the next one.
I think it goes into this. So I have a feeling it's now time for questions. If the
You betcha.
anybody has questions for you.
Are there any questions? Just scanning through. If I don't see you can speak up.
Okay, I have a comment to make, Chair.
Trustee Thompson, go ahead.
What I really love about these proposed courses is all the thought you've put into it. And from where I'm sitting, it's so much more than just football. And I feel very strongly that K-12 education is about building better citizens. So I'm really right on board with this. I think it's just a great idea. And those extra 2 years are really going to produce some good athletes and some good citizens. So congratulations, guys.
Thanks.
So just to add to that, that's kind of the point I was going to try and make before is it's very hard to run the course year after year after year, having only offering it to grade 11s, because we don't typically we're not going to get the minimum 24 or 25 kids to sign up every year if it's just one grade. Having the grade 10 option as well as the grade 12 option, that opens it up for more kids so that we're able to hopefully run it year after year after year, because we're not going to get 25 of each grade, but we're hoping for eight to 10 of each grade will give us enough for one class each year, so we'd run it as a mixed class.
Any other questions or comments?
Nope, so easy.
Sorry, was that them?
That was me trying to
go
raise
ahead,
my
trustee.
hand.
Go ahead, trustee Warrington.
Oh, yes. Well, first of all, I want to compliment the two gentlemen for the work they've done and the work they continue to do in supporting our students in their careers and the work they've just accomplished by putting these two courses together. And I have to echo what Trustee Thompson has just said. This is really about building strong citizens and committed. The idea of being able to know you can give back after you have been through these courses and have that sense of purpose. I think these two courses are very complementary to the course that was developed in grade 11. My question, I guess, is as COVID has become more challenging for all of us, how are you addressing the whole issue around COVID and the work that you do in class to develop these athletes?
Well, we haven't actually run a class since 2019. That was the last time we didn't run the football class last year. I guess it's kind of this, it would be the same as any other PE class, I guess, with the protocols that are in place for them. It really depends as well at what time of the year that the course is run. A lot of it is going to be spent in the weight room, obviously, during the winter months. And in the springtime or in the fall, depending on which semester it is, that's when we can get outside and do some work outside as well. Yeah, so I mean, there's lots of different angles to the course. There's classroom situations, there's weight training, there's on-field stuff. So it really, I guess it just kind of depends on the teacher and the school and what time of year the course is run.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to
Thanks.
say the same thing. I think it'll boil down to just like the PE teachers have been rolling with the changes, whether students are masked or not masked, depending on the level of exertion. And, you know, just like they've been doing, sorry, I don't teach PE, but I mean, they've been getting outside as much as possible. So just like Grant was saying, regardless of whether it's semester 1 or 2, it will have lots of outside time. So that's the first workaround, and then as much distancing as we can do, because I know PE classes are going into the weight rooms now and operating in the gymnasiums. So we should be able to do the same thing.
Great. Thank you very much for that, and all the best. I fully support the development of this course,
Thank you.
both of them.
And you guys alluded to it too with the Kodiak's junior football program launching later this year. The timing of this is almost perfect. Seeing that, for them, this would be in a lot of respects feeding program to what they're trying to accomplish as well. So I think the timing is perfect. The football 11 course itself right now, is it offered just at Shastee and College Heights right now? The football 11?
I've been offering it usually every second year. I was supposed to ride off into the sunset last year when my son graduated, so I was going to kind of end my coaching, but we've had such an influx of young kids coming into the program that poor Tommy was drowning last fall, so I had to send him a lifeline, and I told him I'd help him coach the freshman division. And yeah, so just since then it's really taken off. But again, this was just something that I've been kicking around for a few years. Is I wanted to get this done, just so that it's possible, right, for schools to then offer it, because like Steve's bounced around a little bit from school to school. So now that he's looking like he's got a solid gig up there at Shastee Kelly Road, then he can start offering the course.
Yeah.
Whether we offer it at College Heights, it'll be Tommy or myself that teaches it. But at least the opportunity is there for, if there is a teacher at PGSS or at Dutchess Park, that if they, are interested in it, or they wanna run it, then
It's there.
It's
Yeah.
there for them, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to run it at Dutchess, but when I was there, they didn't have a senior team. So we were building from the ground up. So it was grade 8s to 10s. So there wasn't enough that could take it just having the 11. That's why Grant and I started the conversation quite a while ago and just kind of never got around to figuring out the 10 because we had to wait. So, and then like he was saying, I bounced back here. So next year will be the first time that we offer it here, and we'll just probably be starting with the 10 and see how many kids sign up. So
Good. I saw in the chat that Catherine has a question. Go ahead, Catherine.
Thank you, and thanks for the presentation. It's really great to learn about this. I just had a question. If what is the gender breakdown that typically takes this? Like, I'm sure there are some girls that take it, but I was just curious. I really appreciated that all of this information was gender neutral. So I don't know if the BCFC, I assume that that's also open to girls who are interested, but I don't know. So I just wondered if you could explain that a little bit. Thank you.
sure, so I think my max in my coaching time, we had a junior varsity team here when it was Kelly Road still. We had 5 girls playing then. The cool thing is there's a lot of opportunities in women's football. It's actually one of the faster growing ones. So these, when we were mentioning the smaller numbers, so 6-a-side, 7-on-7 touch, like those are actually there's a lot of explosion happening in those groups. So absolutely, yeah, anybody could take the course. And as far as the BCFC level too, this past year, the Saskatoon Hilltops, they had a young lady make that team. That was the first time that a female player was playing at that level. So that would, and playing with guys. So that, again, I like to compare with the Prince George Cougars because people are more familiar with hockey. So you can imagine a female player playing at that level with the Cougars. So it was kind of cool. Her older brothers had all played for the Hilltops, and she made the team. Her name's escaping me right now, but so yeah, there's a lot of opportunities, and honestly, it would be great if we could get a number of girls that were interested, because I know more in Alberta than BC. Like there's women's leagues and girls leagues popping up across the country. So if we could see growth there, they wouldn't have to compete with guys. They could have their own team if we could ever get enough that wanted to come out. So it'd be kind of cool to see what happens with it, because like I said, it's growing. That's one of the fastest growing areas of the sport, actually.
Great, thank you very much.
Yeah, good question. And that was on my mind as well, too. I'm glad you asked it, Catherine. Thank you. Any more questions?
Actually, I have Ron, can I ask or a comment or a question?
Sure, Cap, go ahead.
Just I guess just a comment. Great, I love the sport themed courses. I think they're wonderful. They do reach a demographic, so thanks for that. Just I guess a questioner, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is there ways to tie in our Indigenous ways of knowing, or our First Peoples principles of learning, or that DeKalb holistic learning model into some of the coursework? Because I read things, when you read things about being a good teammate, communication, personal awareness, it sort of lends itself to tie in some of the first, the First Peoples principles of learning stuff. Have you guys thought about that, or
Yes.
to?
Yeah. So one of the things is putting together like a storyline, or almost like a football resume, like a portfolio kind of thing. So it kind of lends itself to like they're writing their own story, so to speak, right? So when they're playing in the younger grades, and everything is like our games are videotaped and stuff like that, they often get a kick looking back at it when they're in grade 12 and they watch their film from grade 9 or grade 10, and they have a good chuckle, and but they see their own growth, right? And it's a neat learning opportunity, or not an opportunity, but a vehicle, I guess you could say, to show them that. Steve?
I think the other thing too, and I mean, I've coached and played different sports, and I mean, obviously I'm a little bit biased towards football, but as far as the team and communal nature of football, one athlete can't change a game as much as it can in any other sport. If you have an outstanding basketball player, they can carry somebody through. So there is so much of that working together and carrying each other through bit that happens with football. And I've always thought, because that just, it fits so much with that building community piece. And both of us, like, we're lucky that we're at the schools that we're at right now, because there's a lot of growth in the sport in our areas. Plus we are a bit more community schools because we're kind of where we are geographically. So there is that just building community. And Grant mentioned the flag thing. And I mean, we were able to do that one year up here when it was Kelly Road. And it was awesome seeing those kids giving back. And even in the course, if we have kids from grade 10 to 12 working on some of their stuff individually, but working together. So you just see that it's more of a family feel. And that's what I've always found more with football than some other sports. So, I mean, it lends itself really well that way as far as that community piece. And that's what we really want to develop, is having that long term, and having our feeder schools, our family of schools involved in that, so that kids are looking forward to that and looking up to those kids that might be taking those courses, having those role models and mentorship opportunities. So I think that lends itself really well too.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Yeah, good luck. It's awesome.
Okay. So thank you for all your input and your questions. I think we have a clear recommendation from the committee to move this forward to the board meeting next Tuesday. And I know you guys, I think, will be a part of abbreviated presentation at the board meeting next Tuesday, where we'll discuss this further. But yeah, what a fantastic course, and I know I'm excited to talk about this publicly and fully endorse it and see it in implementation in our school district next year.